Welcome back. This is Lily Tang Williams, you to Immigrant Speak, week 4. Last weekend, we published a video for me to talk to Amani, who came to America as an immigrant 2009 and had her first job in San Francisco, a TV station, and then recently had another job last year as a tutor for K-3 kids, but had to go through 2 weeks AmeriCorps training for all those tutors. And her story is just amazing. So if you like our program, please like and share. And we're on Locals Immigrants community. If you are immigrant, welcome to join us, tell your stories, and share your experience in America. And also, just by simply become a member, support us. We will really appreciate it. Some of our videos, I think that maybe shadow banned. All my political messages are shadow banned on Facebook. So I think I'm probably more effective on Twitter, but Twitter, we cannot do long video like this. So I will appreciate, look at our description, or social medias are there. And we'll continue come back to Amani because she was talking about this social identity category that her training material included. And do you have that, Amani? And go ahead and share that screen. Welcome back.
Hi, Lily. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share that screen again.
It's just unbelievable when you look at this social identity categories. So you said that you belong to dominant because you are documented American citizen, you own property, and you are just like a cisgender. So it's just amazing that you come to America and you are now involuntary to be inside of this identity politics. That means I would be like you. I will be under this dominant, category too. Kind of remind me that during the multicultural revolution, when the party divided the people into, remember, an oppressors group. There's like 5 black classes under oppressor groups. If you are landlords, you are so-called rich farmers, and you are counter-revolutionary, bad influencers, and what else is called rightist. All those are some are very subjective. And then you are the bad class, you're under oppressors. And then I was a red child because my parents were illiterate workers. And so the 5 red classes were like farmers, like the poor people, workers and peasants, and Communist Party officials and soldiers, and also the revolutionary heroes. This kind of identity politics, cause people fight each other, hate each other. You got to hate each other. So guess what? We all got to throw under the bus. 20 million people murdered during 10 years Cultural Revolution. Even most supporters, like Red Guards, were thrown to countryside, like my uncle's generation, and they did not end well at all to do re-educational camps. So I know you are younger. You were born after Cultural Revolution. So when you look at this social identity categories, do you feel like it's really scary to see almost like a history repeat itself?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it is terrifying. It's like when you look at the marginalized categories on the left, it's like you have to be in a very, very small minority to declare yourself to be oppressed. That means you are entitled to, to certain things that only oppressed people are entitled to. And when you look at the dominant categories, that basically included the majority of people. So, like, when I think back in China, it's like Communist Party members. There are only 90 million Communist Party members even by now, and most of them joined the party not because they believe, but because they wanted the benefits. And 90 million out of 1.4 or 1.5 billion people is only like 6 or 7% of the population. But that 6 or 7% of the population rules over 94%, 94% of the population, because the majority of people are demonized, are labeled and classified as being dominant or oppressive in the first place when the communists took over. So yeah, it is absolutely horrifying to me that they would basically divide people into these groups according to who they are, instead of judging them by their actions, which is just very, very dangerous, a very dangerous thing to do, especially if they're pushing this on young children, because young children are very impressionable. Like if you tell them, a white Christian, for example, a Christian white upper middle class owning landowner is an oppressor, they will believe it. And in their minds that these people are bad, like simply for being who they are, and that is extremely dangerous.
It's almost like since you guys are getting trained and you're going to be tutors for K-3 schools, it's like this is serious, stuff that little kids don't even understand, but they want to get them to like get used to this concept. Those people are bad, and then the marginalized groups are good. And can you imagine 10, 20 years later, what is their mindset, and what kind of country we will have? I mean, I do feel the pain of lots of people on the marginalized groups, and that's why we want to promote a country like a founding father said. We have to say all men are created equal. I respect your choice. I might not agree with you, whatever you want to choose to be when you are 18 adults. And then we're trying to, of course, have equality means, equality protection under the law. That's what civil rights movement is about. But now they're trying to push all these narratives onto little kids' mind. Like, are they trying to building like a future red guards or social justice warriors in this country? It's just terrifying.
I think if there is a purpose to this, that's the only purpose that I can think of. And let me show you another slide. This one that says myths about anti-oppression and identity to acknowledge. You can see the 4 things that they listed. Being blind to the way people look who they love is how you should engage with people who are different than you. They call that a myth. They believe that is not anti-oppression or the correct behavior. So you're not supposed to be colorblind because like if you treat people the same way, despite their skin color, if you are not a racist, if you're colorblind to race, that makes you a racist. This is what they said. So privilege
is that a typical like what they're saying? Like you have to be actively anti-racist, otherwise you are racist. So they just throw those terms, those words around lots of people. So and if you're like and silence is violence. I mean, if you don't come out, denounce your privileges as white, male, or whatever, that means, you're actually like doing something damage to other group of people. That's kind of not common sense at all.
Yeah, it's trying to confuse, like it's trying to bring down common sense. Actually, that's trying to overturn everything that has been established as what their definition would in the dictionary would be. Like racism is when you focus everything on race. That should be the definition of racism. But they're actually saying if you're not racist, if you don't care about people's skin color, that makes you a racist. I mean, that's like the opposite of. It's like I think they're just trying to change the entire language. If we talk about a specific race, ethnicity, gender, etc., this is unfair and excludes people. I think that's actually very true, right? But they call that a myth. They think this is wrong. Like we have to talk about a specific race. We have to talk about it in a specific gender or ethnicity because that is the right way to be fair and inclusive, which is like the opposite of what it actually is. So I think they are trying to change the entire foundation for what is common sense and what is normal.
That's crazy. That means they are practice racism because they only focus on people's race and color and skin instead of, like Dr. King said, we should not judge people based on how they look at all. Mm-hmm. So the anti-racist people today in America are actually promoting and practice racism. It's just the black is white, white is better. These are upside down them. It's like totally crazy.
Yeah, that's what happened during China's Cultural Revolution. It's like the more everything that was normal or that was considered as the social norms was brought down and turned upside down. And this is exactly what's happening with this training.
They're trying like to redefine social norm, right? Redefine it.
Exactly, like bring everything down and rebuild. A society. We don't know what.
Look at the number 2. It's rated the number 2.
Yeah, privilege isn't real, and people who lean into the concept of privilege are just victimizing themselves.
So they think that's a myth.
Yeah, they think that's a myth. Like they think if you're white, you're privileged. They are so unequivocal in that statement. Like you're not allowed to challenge it. Like if you say, "Hey, I don't think I'm privileged just because I'm white," no, they don't accept that. You can give them facts and examples like, no, I grew up poor, I had to work my way, into college, and you can give them all the facts about your life. None of that would matter. It's just the narrative that matters to them.
Since we both are under dominant category, so what are our privileges, Amani? Like we came here with nothing, could not even speak English. So what is like your privilege here? You're supposed to say that's real privilege. We're privileged to be Americans here, right?
Yeah, but no, they would not let you say that. Like I said, well, after I spoke out at the training, I said I came here from China, and back in China, people spat on me, and here I was welcomed and everything, and I feel freer, I have rights. And then they would not let me share. They silenced me, and they later, in a bigger group, they labeled me white presenting simply because I disagreed. I was called white presenting and told to recognize my white privilege by a white woman who clearly grew up here, middle class. Well, I'm someone who grew up without even a flushing toilet and barely any food, and only came here in my 30s and never drove in a car until I was like 36. But no, I was called white presenting, and I was told to recognize my white privilege because I disagreed. So it's very clear, after that, it became very clear to me, this has never been about racial justice. This has never been about racial equality. It's about silencing all disagreeing voices, all dissenting voices, no matter who you are, where you come from. You have to comply with their narrative, or they shut you down and they label you. So yeah, what's the ultimate purpose of that? That's to install authoritarianism. I think that's very clear to me.
So it's not what the left media talk about democracy, like people like you and me, or conservatives are the threats to democracy. It's end of democracy. But actually, people like us, you would think we are the majorities, but lots of them don't know the truth, what's going on, because either they're afraid, they're silenced, or they don't know the truth because the main media will not report the truth. They have actually, if you look at the Twitter files, they have exposed lots of politicians, government, and pressure big tech social media companies to censor dissident voices. So replace the original free speech, free press with some kind of censorship and totalitarianism. It's just like what we experienced and saw before. But that's a typical tactic of communists now. So they control the media and they censor dissident voices. Then most people don't know the truth, but then you're demonized to be threat, so-called to democracy. But look at what you're sharing here, like how many people know that? And they want to actually some kind of their minority rule and demonize majority people. So it's like almost like just like you said, it's Americans' cultural revolution.
It is, yeah. And let me show you the next one. Examples of ideologies. Basically, I there's like 10 ideas. It's like, I honestly don't know anybody who actually think these ideas, but I'm sure there are like people who do think these. But it's like they pick these pretty backward beliefs from a small group of people, and they make these like the dominant factors of our culture. I'm speechless, really. I'm speechless. Like, who thinks?
It's so small to read it. Can you read the top three? Okay. What are the example of the ideologies?
Yeah, it's so idea 1, lighter-skinned people deserve more love, power, affection, wealth, grace, and dignity than darker-skinned people. Idea 2, males are smarter, more trustworthy, better leaders, more responsible, stronger, and more honest than females. I honestly don't know who thinks these things. I've never met anybody who thinks these things, but they are like taking a small minority of people and blow it out of proportion. A small group of people who might hold these opinions and blow it out of proportion and list them as the most important ideologies. Idea 3, richer people are smarter, more trustworthy, more responsible, and deserve more aspiration and grace than poorer people. Idea 4, Christians are more trustworthy, righteous, and more justified in their violence than non-Christians. I'm like, I honestly have never met anyone who thinks that. Like, any Christians are more justified in their violence than non-Christians. Like, yeah, I think they're just twisting things and blowing things out of proportion just to create a false image that this society is made of horrible people, which is simply not true.
I mean, it's like I mean, it's like almost like they're cherry picking.
Mhm.
I mean, like every, most people are good people. Every group has mostly good people, but some bad people. So they kind of cherry picking, like maybe some minority people's beliefs and make it standard ideology and for them to attack. So then you are belong to that group. So you're guilty, you're bad. It's like you are guilty by association or by
Mhm.
some color, skin color you're born with. Maybe
Mhm.
is that what the Mao did? If you were born like landlord families, you are guilty. You are black class. That's why you got all the young kids come out and kind of denounce their families. Like my
Mhm.
grandparents are black class, they're bad people, and I don't want to use my last name anymore. I'm going to change it to a new name. So you kind of like that kind of culture, that kind of power struggle, identity politics, really taking away children from the traditional and families and make them to hate what they were born with, what is they associated with. It's so inhuman because you saw the rape guards will report to government about their parents and grandparents who were black classes and watching them to be tortured publicly. Then later, when they get older, become more mature, they regret it so much, and their life is ruined because they were young, they were used. But that's what the CCP Mao want them to do, is throw their families under the bus and totally disregard even humanity and human relationships. I mean, I see that similarity here. It's just so sad.
It is. It is insane. I mean, it's like with these examples, they call them ideologies. Like it's like what like that is just like that's not even a word that should be used here with idea 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are nothing but opinions. And like these
Yes.
opinions are not even the majority opinions. Like I have never met anybody with opinions like these. But anyway, like they ignore to mention that ideologies means like basic beliefs like freedom of speech. That is an ideology that they don't mention. Rule of law, constitutional rights, individual rights. They don't mention any of those. But those are actually ideologies that actually were the foundation of what this country was built on. But they mention nothing of it, and they just gave you these extreme opinions and call them ideologies to confuse people, to make people feel that like, yeah, our society is made up of these horrible people who have these horrible opinions. It's
Even though individuals are still entitled to their own opinions, but we don't
Mhm.
have to agree with them.
Mhm.
That's why I see America is a country built on individualism. That's
Mhm.
why you need to judge each individual based on
Mhm.
their conduct, their characters, and
Mhm.
if they're nice or not. Instead of just like a paint, like a brush, there. Look at those ideologies; they're all so
Mhm.
bad. Therefore,
Mhm.
America is a systemic racist country based on
Mhm.
those ideologies. We need to
Mhm.
destroy America
Mhm.
and replace with what they're saying is a little, but they're replacing with all the more left, more Marxist, communist leaning and collective society. It's all form of collectivism because they're
Mhm.
not talking about individuals. They're
No.
talking about identity politics. You belong
Mhm.
to this group, that group, and it just. I wonder why people don't see that. Go ahead and show your next screen. I saw you pull up earlier.
Mhm. Well, like yeah. How do the four I's of oppression show up in this example? Four I's of oppression: ideological, interpersonal, institutional, and internalized. So ideological start with fat bodies are shameful or unhealthy. Thin bodies are worthy and healthy. Um, Interpersonal means like you start to talk, express that opinion to each other, and it was vocalized. Like they must be really lazy. You're really pretty if you were skinner. And institutional is reflected in healthcare. Assumption any medical condition is due to body size in your control to change. Healthcare, BMI, um, body mass index. So according to them, that's institutional oppression that the doctors use to tell you your body mass index. And in TV, reflected the biggest loser. In airplane, in transportation, I've never heard of that TV show, but in services, airplane seats. If airplane seats are too small, apparently, and that's oppression to overweight people. And in media, setting beauty standard in fashion, clothing size is always available wide. Like clothing size. I don't know why. That's an oppression. Clothing is like if you can't find your size, you can't find your size. And then it's finally it's internalized. Fat bodies internalize lower self-worth, shame, frustration, fear. Skinny bodies internalize validation, self-worth, and pride. So that's how you become oppressed if you are an overweight person, because first you have an idea that being overweight is not healthy, which is the ideological oppression. And then you hear about it, which is interpersonal. And then it's institutional. If your doctor shows you your body mass index and say, hey, maybe you should lose a couple of pounds for your own heart health or whatever, that's oppression. That's institutional oppression. And finally, you become depressed, or you don't like your own body, and that's internalized oppression. So, I mean, I'm literally speechless when I saw this example. It's like,
it's scary to say, oh my goodness, oppression is everywhere. Every sentence is oppression. Mass is racist, and I mean, it's like a clothing, beauty, and so everything basically as a society, a civil society, that traditionally we value, or it's like so it's almost like controlling your thoughts. You can think that way, but you cannot say anymore because you say BMI, like or like seats on the airplane, and 1 seat per person. I mean, there's so many words and can be oppressive. So that means they want the people to say what? It's like it's a violation of people's free speech, right? And redefine science too. You remember most cultural revolution, scientists, artists, all are canceled because they are talking about their own kind of science. Makeup science or something. It's like make you to say 2 + 2 = 5. If you don't say that, you're bad black class. You can get locked up and go to struggle sessions to make you apologize because you don't follow their science. Even today's China, you don't follow the government narrative, then you don't follow the science. You like the other 8 doctors who at the beginning come out to tell the truth about COVID, and they were arrested by local cops and then make them to write confessions and to say you're spreading misinformation and you promise you will never do that again. And then how many millions of people died due to that censorship. This is a crazy stuff. Now after I listen to this, I feel like everything is oppression now. So what are we supposed to say? What are kids supposed to say? They're afraid to say anything. They're afraid to even show like a caring and affection. You wonder why jokes are getting canceled, because everything can be oppressive if you tell wrong jokes.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear here, like in healthcare, like even body mass index, which is like a scientific medical term and measurement that doctors use to measure your body mass and to let you know whether you're healthy or not, and that became oppression, institutional oppression by these people's definition. So it's pretty clear, when they say they care about science, they clearly don't. They don't care about the actual basic science. They only care about their own narrative of their version of science. So, and like overweight, fat bodies, whatever, thin bodies, overweight is not healthy. It's not good for anybody. It's a scientific fact, But now it's like that's oppression. You can't say that. You can't even state the truth. You can't even state the most basic truth. That's what Cultural Revolution in China did. Like I don't know if you remember, but the slogan back then was 知识越多越反动. The more knowledge you have, the more counter-revolutionary you are. So this is the same thing. This is the same tactic and same pattern.
Yeah, also you really just blame society for everything, but never talk about individual responsibility. If you're not healthy, you don't want to even be encouraged not to talk about what can I do to be healthy. Maybe my diet, maybe I need a treatment, maybe I need exercise more. Blame all to society. So everybody is a victim of a society. So they're really trying to push this to destroy society that's based on Western traditional values and even like the Mao's Cultural Revolution trying to destroy traditional Chinese culture based on the like the China before communism. People even don't understand that the traditional Chinese culture were totally destroyed by Mao's Cultural Revolution, replaced with a foreign ideology called Marxism, communism. And that's why when you talk about Taiwan and even they treat old Hong Kong before China took over, they preserved a more traditional Chinese culture than communists did, because the way it's like we saw, even in the past, many and years and how they are trying to demonize all the Western cultures, demonize America today, and trying to make the Chinese to be brainwashed to say, oh, they're so bad, we're so good. But if people are suffering, you're allowed to say it because you're not suffering because we're better than them. They're the bad ones.
Mhm.
So you just basically just cut your tongue out or something. You cannot say anything, and
Yeah.
you have to use a VPN to cross the firewall to access, the truth.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. What is your next screen? I'm curious.
This is just the screenshots that I picked from like 45 panels or something like that. So these are the things that are representative of what they wanted us to do. So the next one is, after you've heard all of these training ideas, you need to think about yourself. Part of my I don't know if you can see, it's very small. The part of things to ponder. The part of my identity that I am most aware of on a daily basis is the part of my identity that I'm least aware of on a daily basis is the part of my identity that was most emphasized or important in my family growing up was, etc., etc., etc. So they want you to actually think about your social identities on a daily basis. Like they want you to, you remember how Mao used to say 批评与自我批评, criticize
Self-criticism,
and
yes.
self-criticize. Yeah, so it's like they want you to inject all of this into your daily life. Like you want to be, like Mao used to say, we talk about politics every day, every year, every month, every hour. This is the same thing. They want you to inject all of those ideas that they are trying to push on you every day, to think about it every day, to inject that into your daily life and think about who you are and act according to those identities, which is like a reshaping a human being, which is extremely scary. It's very scary.
So did they make you to write that down or talk about it in the group? And how did the people react to this? Like, oh, I have to think about this every day.
Well, not about this, but after training sessions, they had like tests. They had all these online tests that we all had to do, like, and you have to score more than like 95% to be able to pass. Otherwise, you won't be considered competent to take on the job. So
To take a job to tutor K to
Mhm.
3 grade.
That's right. Yeah.
So how do people pass the test? Do you have to cheat and just self-censor in order to pass the test?
Yeah, I had to like just look at the questions and go back to the materials and find the answer. And yeah, but it was like it was very difficult emotionally for me, because I hate to use, I don't want to use a rude word, but it's all BS. It was all BS to me, and but I had to do it. I had to force myself to do it, and that just really reminded me of what I had to go through back in China Radio International, when we had to go through all the orientation training, where we were told that we're not supposed to think for ourselves, that we were supposed to just do what the party told us to do. And it was exactly the same thing, exactly the same feeling. And yeah, like I mentioned in my first video, that I had to sing a song with the rest of the group. I had to pretend to be singing, and that disgusted me. I felt disgusted myself, and this was this exact same feeling. I had to force myself to do it. And that, I mean, I don't know about the other members in the group, but that is taking away your passive freedom. It's like when you're when you're like actively free, you can express your opinions. But when you can't express your opinions, you can still be passively free by staying silent. But they don't, like you said, silence is violence. They don't let you. They force you to express the same opinions that they forced on you, to be able to pass the exam and let you work.
Yeah, it's like can you imagine, this is taxpayer funded federal agency,
Mm-hmm.
AmeriCorps,
Mm-hmm.
to do this training, push down on you. And I know you wanted to have this job, you love kids, you wanted to work with them. You also feel like and like maybe you can do some good by just hold your nose to pass this training and test in order to become a elementary school tutor. It's a I'm so sorry to hear that, because you had to really swallow it. It's like we had to kiss the rain in China in order to get out of China sometimes. I remember I had to cheat and lie to say, oh, yes, I support the party. Yes, kumbaya. Yes, Communist Party policy is great. Otherwise, I could not get the permission to quit my job, to go get my private passport. So you kiss the ring, then you pass the test, then you have a little bit of freedom, permission only.
Yeah, it's very I mean, it's like, they force you to lie. Basically, you're forced to lie in order to survive the system, which is very dangerous, because that creates mental illnesses. That when
Oppression, real oppression, like really depression, really, right?
Mhm.
People
Yeah.
feel depressed when they are not free to say whatever they want. Because
Mhm.
if you cannot speak freely,
Mhm.
you cannot think freely. Because
Exactly.
speech is just a matter, the way of you to express your thoughts.
Yeah,
So that's why
absolutely.
in North China, if you not careful, you can be labeled as a, like a thought crime. You can commit a thought crime.
Yeah. Back in China, like in the radio station, we had to like write a thought report, 思想报告, right?
Thought report,
Thought
yes.
report every month. Like I think not every month. For me, it was like every year, because I was at the lowest position. But yeah, this is the same thing. Like you have to. This wasn't just the two week training though. It's like every month that we will have a monthly training to reinforce all of this narrative. So there's more.
Well, how did you handle that? I will go crazy.
It was very difficult. It was very difficult, but I was determined. Like I wanted to quit, like right there. But I was determined. I would stick it out for a year, because as long as they still send me to tutor the children, I would never bring this narrative, this harmful narrative, harmful and divisive narrative to them. So I can be a force of defense for the children against this narrative. So that's basically supported, pushed me to continue. And I did that for a year, and yeah,
Well,
that's what
good
I
for
did.
you. If you did not stay there long enough, you probably would not accumulate, and so much information to go public with it. You are
Mhm.
kind of like a whistleblower, basically. Yeah. Otherwise, how do you know that's what they're doing to
Yeah.
our, school kids? Because they want you to transfer those training information when you deal with children. I wonder how many of those people who got training with you did what you did. Just
I
do whatever you can to deal with this kind of training and the survey and test. But when they actually deal with kids, they know better what
Mhm.
to not
Yeah,
do.
I wonder too. I think most people, like every month there would be like a cluster group or something for the tutors who are in the same county to meet up over Zoom and talk about their experiences tutoring children. And people in my group would always avoid mentioning any of the training. We always just talked about how we tutored kids, how we help them read. So I think most people are pretty uncomfortable with this, and I think most of the young people, at least when I was there, yeah, they were trying to avoid it. But in one of the big meetings, one of the ladies did share as her funny moment of her tutoring year, as like she was telling us the story that she um, put on her whiteboard a picture of President Biden, and one of her students, who was like a second grader, maybe a second grader, yeah, saw the picture and asked her, like, who is that? And she said, that's our president. And the second grader said, oh, we don't need any more white men as our president. And she laughed, and because she thought that was funny, like she thought everyone would have appreciated it, because of the training or that. But I have to say, I was glad to say that not many people laughed with her. And most people just got silent, and except the supervisor, who kind of laughed awkwardly with her for a little bit. So I think it is, yeah. And most people were uncomfortable with this.
Yeah. And what is the next screen?
Oh, microaggressions. So it's like, yeah, I don't even know where to begin. It's a micro that when you say aggression, it has a very clear definition. You cross the line, you cross the boundaries, you invade into other people's personal space. That's called aggression. But when it's microaggression, it's like anything. Like, for example, this one, micro invalidation, negates or nullify the experiential reality around an identity. Parenthesis, I don't see color. All lives matter. They give you an example of
So
micro
that's
invalidation.
microaggression.
Yeah. So all lives matter is microaggression. I don't see color. Like, you're not supposed. Yeah, I'm just speechless. If you say I don't see color, all lives matter, that's considered microaggression. So yeah,
So
anything
what
you
does it
say.
mean? Like we don't say colors. We say people. You say hi. You call their name by their name, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're
but
for friend, you want us to go out and always see our friend's skin color first.
mhm.
That's crazy stuff.
That is crazy stuff. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
nobody is safe. You will say anything that would be considered microaggression. So everybody in the end just becomes sheep and becomes silent, right? And so the next one,
You're not encouraging people to mingle, to engage with each other. You regardless your skin color, because we don't say that. We're all Americans, we're all human race. What's wrong with that? We're all our human race. Who are those people who are trying to divide us into groups and then trying to destroy our unity? And media does not help. They left the media every day. It's talking stuff like based on people's skin color. We do have problems in this country, but where can people calmly to sit down, have conversations, and talk about the problems we have, and come up with the solutions to address those problems? But instead, stuff like this is just getting worse and worse. And pretty soon, our kids, like I know some kids are failing bad because they're oppressors in schools. Even some aging kids. At the same time, they will say, stop aging hate if somebody is going to attack Asians, but accept the Asians over Asians, or they get discriminated when they apply for Ivy League schools like Harvard and Yale. And our kids been discriminated because they're Asians. But so are we people of color, or we are white, or we are oppressed, or we are oppressor? It's all like it depends on when and what occasion, depends on if it's convenient for the politician to use us or not, and for the media to use us or not. I hope minority people don't buy those BS.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know what to say. Yeah. I don't know if you can see the girl in the picture that's holding that piece of paper. Can you see what's written on it? It says,
Go ahead,
why,
I cannot see.
It says, why do you sound white?
So if we talk like this, that means we're white supremacists, and because we talk like a white. So if we stick to some traditional conservative values, so we are white. So what values they would prefer us to have then? What values they want us to believe people who fled socialists, communists, or just general real oppressive regimes come to this country like you and me, living American dream, feel like we're free here, we're happy here, and our life is so much better than the native country. But we're supposed to not talk like that. We're supposed to not even enough American citizens who are so warm to us, open up to welcome us, and we feel like, hey, we're the one who are happy here. So do you think those people probably should go to other countries, live there, to experience it themselves, to what the real oppression is?
I wish they would. That's the thing. Yeah, I wish they would. They talk the talk, and they don't
leave, right?
They don't leave. Yeah.
The thing is, so I don't know how we can do this, but I really prefer them to travel to other countries. Like some people do change their mind when they go to other countries. Not long, just 6 months to a year. Yeah, or even travel different countries. What is this? All this stuff. Binary model.
Well, this is the day of gender identity and pronouns training. This was on the third day, so it was all about how it's outdated to have binary model. Like you are born with biological sex. There's only 2 real sexes. That's wrong. And genitals determine behavior, appearances, etc. Still wrong. You're assigned gender at birth based on your genitals, and that's wrong. You express your gender through clothes, speech, etc. based on your AGAB. I don't even know what that is. Like also wrong. So everything is wrong. Like if you think, and there's this whole thing. There's intersex. Penis means a male, and the vulva means a female. Everything is wrong, and so it's like so confusing. Like they're basically saying, the traditional belief or the biological belief that there are 2 genders, 2 sexes is wrong, and there's all of these. I don't even understand what that means, and here's pronouns and misgendering definitions. So here's what pronouns mean, and here's misgendering. So misgendering can be done intentionally or unintentionally, but it has long-lasting harmful impacts. Okay, I accept that. If you hurt someone's feelings, you hurt someone's feelings. But there's no way I can remember all of these pronouns. Like, I still confuse she and he just in my daily speech. It's like English is not even my first language. It's my third language. But I don't know how they expect people to remember all of these pronouns. And using correct pronouns is suicide prevention. Okay, I mean, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but if that's what the statistics tell us, okay. But then degendering language, they want you to use a language that has no gender, genderless language. For example, ladies and gentlemen should be changed to folks, everyone. If you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, You should be changed to have a significant other. She or he or she versus they. Male man versus male person. Freshman versus ninth grader. Yeah, use gender natural, not gender neutral language in everything. She and he is not inclusive. You cannot use he or she. And here is all of the words and terms that you're not supposed to use. Or I mean, I'm just like, okay, I really have more important things to do than remembering all of these words. And instead of his and hers, I try theirs. And here's the best part. There are hundreds of pronouns. So yeah, they're like, I don't know. Like I don't know what they're trying to do, really. It's like hundreds of pronouns. Like, what are they? Show me. And like, it's like, other than, I don't even know the purpose of this, other than confusing people. I can't see why they're doing, hundreds of pronouns, like other than, making people just confused and not say anything at all. Because who can remember hundreds of pronouns? It's just, yeah.
Well, remember that Mao wanted to create a genderless societies. Like husband wife cannot even call each other husband and wife. It has to be comrades.
Mhm.
And as a little girl, I could not date. I could not look pretty, and I could not lay hair down. We could not wear beautiful female color clothing like pink and hot pink, and all have to be unisex. Like boys. It's like I don't know how many parents out there know about this, and I think since we need to hold the federal government responsible, if they are using taxpayers' money to fund agency like this agency, America should come out. Who will provide these training materials? And how many people like you get trained, then go to our K-3 and like elementary school to be tutors and supposed to sell this kind of crazy stuff?
Yeah.
It's like some people still say, "Oh, we're not teaching critical race theory," but look at what you just shared. I might have to go take out every screenshot to share, on social media, so people will know. And we need to hold those, federal agencies accountable. Whoever is doing this. Do you have one more screenshot?
Okay, yeah, this is another one about gender identity. So it's the 10 things you're actually saying when you ignore someone's gender pronouns. So it's like, first one, I know you better than you know yourself. Second one, I would rather hurt you repeatedly than change the way I speak about you. 3, your sense of safety is not important to me, and so on and so forth. And it's like, if you accidentally or you misgender someone, or you use the wrong pronouns, these are the 10 things you're actually saying to them. I'd say this is just using guilt, right? So if you use the wrong pronouns, you are intentionally hurting somebody. And there's one more slide I want to show you, but can you see it now?
Yeah, I can.
Next, this is a screenshot that I was very shocked about. It's like, part of the exit form after a whole year of service, we're supposed to fill out an exit form before we could get our monetary award at the end. And look at question 16. It says, did you vote in the last presidential election? Yes, no, I was not eligible to vote, and don't know. Question 17, both of these questions are asterisks, so it's like required. Were you registered to vote in the last presidential election? Which is very weird, because it's like, it shows an agenda, I have to say. It's like,
so you're the one who picked the I don't know.
Yeah, I picked I don't know. I'm not going to answer that question. It's private information. It's it has nothing to do with with our job. They have no right to ask that question. It clearly shows an agenda. The organization's purpose is not just to tutor children. They have a political agenda here.
It's terrifying. I don't know how we can, continue to involve parents and American public to let them know. I think most American people, if they know the truth, and if they know what's going on and see information like this, honestly, how many people can really support this? There is agenda, there's a push to indoctrinate our little kids who supposed to have fun, learning some readings and learning some math in schools. Now this agenda is pushing through, really like building the future, like Red Guards or young pioneers, serves what common good, or what's what the communists talk about, serve the great society and common good. Well, thank you for sharing that, Amani. Really appreciate it. And we will continue to discuss issues like that. And follow Amani and on locals.com. We have an immigrant community. Become a member, and we'll put some stuff there on locals. If you want to support us, we really appreciate. Like, share this video, and tell people about this Immigrant Speak program. And we can guarantee you, we are free Americans now. We're not going to be silenced in this country. And so, thank you so much, Amani. So
you,
I
Lily.
will see you next week.
Thank you.
Have
a good day. See you
Bye.
next week. Bye.
See ya.